Good evening all, I'm Aditi Lamba with the Tuesday night edition of South Asian News. Welcome to Vision of Asia, Voice of Our Community. We are coming to you from our studio located in New York City. Here's what's happening tonight in the coronavirus pandemic. Globally, we are looking at 25.6 million cases of coronavirus with at least 851,000 deaths. More than 183,000 deaths in the United States. We are looking tonight at more than 6 million cases in this country. While coronavirus numbers have improved in several hotspot states, officials are now getting concerned about large gatherings for the upcoming Labor Day weekend, and there is a growing concern now for case clusters arising from smaller gatherings. On that, Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves announced that he is extending his COVID-19 order and urged people to continue social distancing and wearing masks. On mask, health experts nationwide are demanding a national mask mandate. Do you think we need a universal masking order from the federal government? Send us your comments on events@itvgold.com. Also, we are looking for South Asian students and educators to give their comments on the ongoing debate about school reopening between in-person and virtual learning. Across 36 states, more than 20,000 cases of COVID-19 have been reported among students and staff at colleges and universities. Looking at some statistics now, in James Madison University reported over 130 new cases of COVID-19 since yesterday. University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill reported 900 cases so far, and University of Alabama reported more than 1,000 cases. Many campuses are starting to reverse their plans for reopening, making everything virtual. Almost all colleges in the nation are offering some form of online instructions, even when they are offering in-person classes. All students are being asked to follow all local and state health guidelines and urged to socially distance themselves. On public schools today, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio announced that the start of classes will now be delayed to September 21st for additional coronavirus safety measures and in compliance with education unions. New York City Public School is the largest U.S. school system in the country. The U.S. government is all set to now send millions of rapid COVID-19 tests to states to support the school reopening and other tasks. Only time will tell the future of education system. With that, it's now time to begin tonight's episode, reflecting much on the measures and impact of the coronavirus pandemic, featuring officials and doctors. Here are the headlines. Council member Daniel Dromm addresses South Asian and Indo-Caribbean communities on COVID-19 and systemic racism, District 25th, New York City Council. Dr. Tushar Patel on coronavirus vaccine trials, social distancing and reopening, New Jersey. Shree Entertainment presents Ganesh Utsav 2020, New Jersey. A lot more on the other side of the break. Stay with us in Vision of Asia, Voice of the Community. We'll be back shortly. And welcome back. This is Vision of Asia, Wednesday night episode of South Asian News. Looking at the coronavirus pandemic impact and measures, today a panel of experts set up to advise the United States on how to best allocate COVID-19 vaccines said that the high-risk workers in healthcare facilities and first responders should be the one getting the vaccine first as a part of a recommended 4-phase rollout plan. The CDC and NIH are expected to take these recommendations into consideration when making decisions of vaccine distribution once they become available. There are currently 3 vaccines in phase 3 trials in the United States with hopes of the vaccine availability by early 2021. One of the vaccines is starting a 30,000 subject U.S. phase 3 COVID-19 trial. Bringing more insight into the vaccine trials along with a strict take on social distancing during the pandemic, we spoke with well-known health expert Dr. Tushar Patel. Dr. Patel urged all to continue following key CDC guidelines and help curb the spread of the coronavirus. Here is the conversation with Dr. Tushar Patel. Today we're looking at about 6 million coronavirus cases in the United States, 183,000 deaths at least. Globally, we're looking at 25.3 million cases of coronavirus with 847,000 deaths. The CDC right now is projecting 200,000 deaths by September 19th. My question to you is this projection true? And if so, how should we be mentally processing this?
Definitely it's true, because the way we are getting the weekly reports from the CDC and NIH, the number of infections are still rising in many states: California, Texas, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, North Carolina, Texas. So I think we still have concerning cases coming from those states. And as long as we are getting those numbers higher in the stats, we will definitely have that 200,000 reach very soon.
Go into the vaccine right now because there are a lot of questions and concerns about it. Its timing, who is going to receive it first. There are so many pharmaceutical companies involved in it. What kind of insight could you give us? And what phase is the vaccine trial on right now?
So let me start with the basic of vaccine. Usually, in the old days, the vaccine used to take 10 to 15 years. In the modern era, it takes about 4 to 6 years. The fastest vaccine came in the world was a mumps vaccine, which took 4 years. So we have a lot of challenges in front of us as far as the vaccine goes, because the vaccine has to be safe, has to be vetted properly. It has to be given to enough people to ensure the protection is there, and also the older age population has to be tested properly in order to make sure that those population is safe to receive the vaccination. So in my opinion, with live attenuated vaccine, means the weakened version of the live vaccine, which this vaccine will be for COVID-19, I originally told it's going to take 12 to 18 months, and I think we will probably need that time, because this vaccination has to be at least 50% effective in clinical trials for us to start vaccinating people in this country. And if we don't do that, I think that will not be a safe vaccine, that will not be efficacious vaccine, and that will be a risky for our population here in this country.
Are there enough people involved in these trials, or is there still more needed, according to you?
So phase 3 clinical trials, 30,000 people are enrolled. Not everyone received the third trial vaccination yet. It may take up to a few months before the phase 3 clinical trial is done. And after that, they have to do the results. They have to find what outcome came of the phase 3 clinical trial. That may take anywhere from 2 to 4 months. So in my opinion, by the time all these things are done, the processes are completed, vetted, vaccination safety is done, efficacy is completed, I think end of the year, early next year is the earliest we hope for the vaccine in this country.
Wow. And who would receive it first, according to you? Would it be the frontliners?
So the frontliners, the people with immunocompromised status, people over 65 years of age with comorbid conditions, diabetes, heart disease, kidney disease, all those risk population will get the vaccination first. So, and also one tricky thing about this vaccine, everyone in the world is looking for the same vaccine, first time ever. So I think this is going to be a challenging to have billions of people getting the same vaccine. And another challenge is, I don't even know if this is going to be one time or twice a vaccine. So is it 2 dose or 1 dose? At this time, nobody can tell. Maybe 2 dose, it may even become more complicated in this scenario.
Wow, so many uncertainties still, so many unknowns. What about the therapeutic treatments? Is there any more insight that we have? Any new medications?
So lately there is no news about the therapeutic. We need something like Tamiflu for influenza, which has not come in rise in the research or the clinical trials for those medications. I think my best guess is vaccine may or may not come in a timely manner, but if we come with some strong viral response medication, just like Tamiflu we have for influenza, I think we will be in good shape, but that's far away from where we are right now. So it may take a few more months.
What about remdesivir, Dr. Patel, and its results?
So remdesivir is good for patients who are in hospital with serious conditions under clinical monitoring in ICU setting, where the physician or the healthcare provider can manage them. Remdesivir works for them. There are some other medications, off-label medications, works on those individuals, but that's not safe enough to use for the mild illness or to prevent the disease.
Let's now take a look at the ongoing commemorations of the ongoing Ganesh festivals, a 10-day celebration which marks the birth of Hindu god Ganesha, considered the god of new beginnings, positivity, and a fresh start in the Hindu faith. Ganesha is widely revered as the remover of obstacles, the patron of arts and sciences, and the lord of intellect and wisdom. The festival of Ganesha is considered one of the most auspicious on the Hindu calendar, comprising of several events, rituals, and processions. Such an event was presented by Shree Entertainment in New Jersey, which is a performance arts entertainment group dedicated to South Asian culture, religion, and heritage. Here are highlights from their recent Ganesh Utsav celebration.
ITV, Rajaji, this is such a auspicious occasion of Ganesh Chaturthi, and we have been celebrating with all the social distancing and mask. I'm just on the stage by myself, so I have taken out the mask, but I am with mask. So please stay safe, and Bappa Moria, may Lord Ganesh bless us. Once again, everybody from Swarhari Karaoke Club, they are doing amazing job, and this is the way to enjoy the spirit of human beings. Challenges are going to be there, but once again, thank you ITV for giving us this opportunity and having this wonderful evening for Lord Ganesha. Thank you.
गजमुखने गिरिजासुधने गणपति भगवाने मरुभुगनीयन അറിവിൻ പതിയായി ഹരനുടെ തിരുമകനെ ശ്രീ ഹരനുടെ തിരുമകനെ മദഗജമുഖനെ गिरिजासुधने गणपति भगवाने मरुगनीयन അറിവിൻ പതിയായി ഹരനുടെ തിരുമകനെ ശ്രീ ഹരനുടെ തിരുമകനെ
विनायक गुणीजन पालक विघ्न विनाशक गुणीजन पालक दुरित तिमिर हारक दुरित तिमिर हारक सुखकारक तू दुःख विदारक सुखकारक तू दुःख विदारक तूच तुझ्या सारखा वक्रतुंड ब्रह्मांड नायका वक्रतुंड ब्रह्मांड नायका विनायका प्रभुराया. This is Neeta Ramekar from Swarhari Karaoke Club. We have wonderful people here on this auspicious occasion of Ganesh Chaturthi, and our club is celebrating the Lord Ganesha's day today. Moreover special this year due to the challenges for the humankind which are here. So we are following all the social norms, and our 15 beautiful, wonderful singers of the club, they are giving their devotion and the artis to Lord Ganesha. May Lord Ganesha give us knowledge, give us the protection, and keep us all the human race safe. Ganpati Bappa Moria from all of us at Swarhari Karaoke Club.
It's time for another short break. Stay with us in Vision of Asia, Voice of the Community. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Vision of Asia, the South Asian news segment, and I am Aditi Lamba. We have now an exclusive conversation with Council member Daniel Dromm, who represents District 25th in the New York City Council. The progressive leader in Queens has been serving Queens for over 20 years and currently serves as the chairperson for the Finance Committee. Bringing much insight into the ongoing impact of coronavirus pandemic, Council member Daniel Dromm addressed the South Asian community on Jackson Heights and Elmhurst in New York. Remember, this district was once the epicenter of coronavirus cases when the pandemic began. Council member shared much information on the current state of his district and reopening of schools and economy, along with his take on racial tension on systemic racism seen nationwide. Discussing the social and economic impact of COVID-19 and the role of government, Council member also urged all to exercise their right to vote and get their voices and identity recognized. Also giving a perspective on police defunding, here is a segment of our interview with Council member Daniel Dromm. And it's very important to have you with us because you do represent District 25th, which has Jackson Heights and Elmhurst both in it. So just beginning this interview, I have to ask you, how is the situation in your district right now from the last time we spoke, and are things getting better?
Sure. Well, thank you very much. And you're right. District 25 has one of the largest South Asian and probably the whole metropolitan area. So I'm very proud to be able to represent that community in the city council. But we have had our share of difficulties. And during the pandemic, and we're still in the pandemic, we haven't really fully gotten out of it, although New York seems to be doing better than other places. We had a very difficult time. Elmhurst Hospital is in my district as well. And Elmhurst Hospital was the epicenter of the epicenter. And there was a lot of tragedy and drama going on there, with people bringing their relatives into the hospital, a shortage of PPE equipment for the hospital personnel. It was very difficult. And many people are still suffering the consequences of the pandemic, having lost loved ones. But that being said, we have gotten through what was the worst part, and we're beginning to recover. Certainly, I hope that there is not a second wave of the pandemic. But the big issue, again, in my district remains food. People in my district don't have enough food. So I have been giving food to various organizations in the neighborhood, like the Sherpa Society, like Dromm, Desi's Rising Up and Moving, or NICE, New Immigrant Community Empowerment, to Adhikar as well. And we've managed to give out weekly deliveries with the Sherpa Society. Wow. So food remains a big issue. A lot of the South Asian immigrants who live in my district drive cabs. And as you know, people are not in the city. They're not able to really work. So it's been difficult for those cab drivers. And the economy has been slow to come back. We recently opened a new open restaurant street on 37th Road, right off of 74th Street in Jackson Heights, near Diversity Plaza. And I think that's helped some of the local businesses a little bit because they can do outdoor dining now. I know the neighborhood is excited about it. But we have a long way to go. We have a long way to go until we're back to where we were pre-COVID, say back in February or so.
Now, this race war that we're seeing, the racial tension we're seeing since the case of Jacob Blake and also since the death of George Floyd, my question to you is, what are your comments on what's happening right now? And there is a nationwide debate on police brutality and police defunding. What are your comments?
Sure. So, the whole situation, I think, is a very sad situation. I'm a child of the 1960s, and I remember Dr. Martin Luther King and seeing him on television fighting for basic civil rights, the rights to employment, the rights to housing, the right to vote, which were really hard fought for in the 1960s. And here we are, 60 years later, and we're still facing many of the same issues. And it's not just African Americans, it's any person of color in this country faces this type of discrimination. So my heart goes out to them because they're being judged solely by the color of their skin and not by the content or the character or their character. And so the struggle continues. A lot of it has been centered around police brutality, and in particular for those two cases, where the police officer shot the man in the back 7 times with his back to the police officer. Now, in my opinion, there is no excuse for shooting someone in the back. If they have a gun and they shoot at you, or they in some way have a life-threatening situation, I could possibly see the use of violence. But there were so many other options in that case, and the same thing with in Minneapolis and Minnesota, where the police put their knee on George Floyd's neck for such a long period of time. 9 minutes, I believe, is the total amount of time. How could somebody do that? I just don't understand the inhumanity of doing that to someone, and killing them, essentially. So we need to educate people. We need people to know more about what this type of prejudice and discrimination means in the lives of people of color in this country, and what type of a detrimental effect it has on our country. This is not what America was meant to be.
Yes, for sure. And what do you think could be a solution to these issues?
Well, I have always been a big proponent of education. And one of the things that the chancellor has been trying to do, and has been fairly successful at, is in teaching implicit bias and race relations in the public school. Of course, he's been getting a lot of pushback on that from the very people who you would expect him to get the pushback from. But I believe that recognizing our own internal prejudices, I have them, other people have them, we need to recognize them first so that we can overcome them. And even good-minded, good-willed people hold certain prejudices against different groups of people. Oh, they did this because they're that way, or they did this. We all have that, and we need to unlearn those things. And we need to teach children at a young age that the differences are what make our world so wonderful. It's one of the things that makes Jackson Heights the best place in the world to live. I have to say that because that's my district, but I believe it very, very much. There in Jackson Heights, people who don't get along, even in their own home countries, learn to get along with each other because we're all in the same boat. And I think when we can teach that to the rest of the world, finally we'll have some peace in the world.
Yeah, definitely. Council member, a lot of youth is watching you right now on ITV Gold. They're seeing everything unfold in front of their eyes on television, on social media. Everything has gone viral. What's the key advice you could give to them in terms of, truly connecting with their own identity and not being scared?
I was a child of the 60s, as I said before, and America was a country in peril back then. We had the Vietnam War going on. We had Robert Kennedy's assassination. We had Martin Luther King's assassination. Those were very frightening times. I was almost drafted into the Vietnam War. And so we did get through that. We got through that because we raised our voices and we said no more to the Vietnam War. We said we want accountability in government. And of course, nothing ever turns out perfect, but we were heard. So my advice to young people is to get involved and let people know what your ideas and thoughts are. Yeah, Twitter is great and Facebook is okay, but get out there and work with other people in groups. Get out and demonstrate. Let people know how you're feeling. Become visible. We need people to see who we are as communities, as different communities, but also as a community. And that's my advice to young people. Get involved. Make sure as soon as you turn 18, you are registered to vote and vote.
Yeah. And this wraps up our show for the night. Remember to send us your suggestions and get your voices and organizations on our show. Email us on events@itvgold.com or follow us on Facebook @itvgold. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch many of our popular shows for free. Thank you for joining us tonight from Queens, New York. This is Vision of Asia. I am Aditi Lamba. Take care and be well.